All right, hey guys. I wanted to go ahead and get started. I've been meaning to do this training for quite some time, but it is how to bring full exposure to your business organically and free. It's not going to happen for you automatically, so not that organically, but if you go get some stuff done and go through the process, it can. Um, so I'm going to go ahead and get right into it. Um, let's open this up and share screen. Format. This should probably be easier than it looks. Here, full screen. Here we go. Oh, that wasn't it. Play. There we go. It's just. So I'm hoping everyone can see this. If not, let me know if you can't. But this, like I said, is going over do-it-yourself media positioning and exposure to increase your profits and decrease sales friction. So profits, to me, I mean, that's fairly a given, right? But if you have exposure, if people see you somewhere, the potential for them coming straight to you um, becomes a lot easier. Decreasing sales friction. If somebody's already heard of you when you go to pitch them, it becomes an easier sell because you don't have to prove with testimonials or anything else that you know what you're talking about. The thing speaks for itself. So you already have a reputation that precedes you. And if they Google you, they'll find you on other places. So why do some companies win and others fail? I have this in every single presentation. Um, it's because you need to think as business as warfare. But that being is that you can't just play willy billy nice and think that everything's going to come with you. You have to go with a strategic mindset. Um, and where that comes from is I am ex-military, and we are completely certified in digital marketing. I won't spend much time on that. What I'm talking about with exposure is if you've ever seen people with some of these, and I'll put some more up there, like Huffington Post, they were featured in Forbes, right? I've got the DMAG logo up there. I've actually been in Cosmo Girl and 17 and some of the local interior design magazines. These are icons of trust, and they let people know that somebody besides yourself actually believes in what you have to say and thinks that you're a credible individual, and that provides just that to your potential clients is that credibility level. First and foremost, you need to know why. You need to have a goal with your media, like what are you looking to accomplish? Don't just say bottom line revenue because that's going to be really hard, as a lot of bloggers figured out by getting on the Huffington Post. It was so easy to get on there, and they were expecting all this flood of viewership, not even purchases, but viewership when they were featured. And people read the Huffington Post, they don't click back to see where your blog is or who you are, typically, unless they're trying to sell you something. Um, but on the other hand, if you're looking more at the bottom of the funnel, something to fill the gap between, you know, if somebody Googles you, that they make sure that they can see that your name is out there other than just your sales pitch. That's the reason why. So if you do not have a goal, please just stop right there, um, and just don't continue until you decide what your ultimate goal is that works within the media. And as far as that goes, make sure that it goes inside your customer journey. If it's going to be awareness that you exist, or if it's going to be more, like I said, over maybe on the excite phase or even the subscription phase, trying to get them to convert, taking and saying, yeah, did you see us in the media? Did you see this article? So consider what you're trying to do. And there are some, before I leave that out, there are some where you can actually convert people if you have a good offer and we're talking a low conversion. Some of the things that we're going to be covering are making decisions, the fears that a lot of people face, and the reason they don't pursue this, your specific positioning, story, and topics, crafting your pitch, and what's next after that. First, just make a decision. I had a pretty little quote box, and then it wasn't transferring over the way that I intended it to. But I just need you to make a decision to move forward. Don't say like, oh yeah, I'm going to get to that. Go ahead and set some basics up, and this is something in your free time, or as you get to know people, you can start filling in the blanks and moving people forward. So if you're not going to do this, it's not something that you can pursue in the next, say, month, go ahead and drop out and start somewhere else. If you're going to keep going, don't mean and not waste your time. Go ahead and just make the decision that you're going to pursue some exposure in your business and go ahead and get started. The biggest one that I see in not doing this is fear. Um, what is it like to, show up in a story? And the biggest thing, that you might get feedback, that somebody might say something bad about you, or somebody may not like what you have to say, or your position or stance on something. And I mean, the bottom line on that is sometimes marketers do that for fun, to grab attention. We'll say email is dead, Zoom meetings are dead, whatever is, will grab the most attention because it's clickbait, right? But what I would encourage you to do is ask yourself, what is not getting exposure for your business costing you? And more important, what is it costing others? So in your business, is it costing you funds? Is it costing you clients? But also, what is it costing others? Not just in your business, not just the family that your funds support, but all the people that you could be helping, but you can't because they don't even know you exist, that you've not put yourself out there to the right people. So if fear is an issue, just really write that kind of stuff down. What is it you're afraid of? Is that a real fear? And then write down what it's costing you and others. And especially the more defined your vision is, you'll the fear of not doing something will be greater than the fear of doing it. So, and I'm not going to lie, sometimes you just have to not pay attention to the comment section. Believe. I also need you to do something. I need you to believe that what you have to share is important. There are a lot of people who feel like they're not educated enough, they're not far enough along in their professional journey. There are people, even the kid living in low economic circumstances in middle school has a story to tell that is important to share with the world. So please do not think that you don't have a story to tell be a stopgap. You may not have the right angle, but we're going to discuss that later. But you do have something to share with the world, and you have tons of experience to share and stories to share. And really, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. And there are plenty of different outlets out there that you can reach out to that we're looking for your specific story. I need you to take a look at your positioning, your expertise, and your story. And we're going to dive down a little bit more in depthly into that. Your first one is going to be positioning. What makes your story different, valuable, or important to the audience? So one of the things that I harp on a ton is one of the most important factors that you'll do in our business growth workshop, or for your business, is tightly define a unique avatar that is the exact person you want to talk to. So when you start talking about positioning, what makes your story different, valuable, or important to that audience, that becomes a lot easier. So if I'm just speaking in general, I'd like to pitch a story on marketing. Yeah, me and every single other billion marketers out there. If I say I have a specific publication that only talks to commercial real estate brokers, and my story is how to do awareness marketing specific to commercial real estate brokers, now it's different. It's not just a general marketing story, it's valuable specific to my audience. So have your avatar very tightly put together, and then take a moment to think about how you can angle a story that is different, valuable, and important to that specific avatar. And then now we're going to be talking about positioning it. So if you just write your own blog post, I mean, that's great and all, but it really needs to be positioned to the audience that you're pitching to. And again, back to that avatar, so that there's a reason to read it, right? One can be one of the very easiest, lowest level ones is transformational or aspirational stories. I mean, you read so many stories, like the kid who is extremely, who suffers from Down syndrome, but they open up a cookie shop. That was one I was just recently watching. It took me nothing to watch it, but it makes you feel good because you see the transformation of being told they can't be hired, to opening up their own cookie shop and succeeding and needing multiple locations. Another one is unique experiences, hobbies, or interests, and especially even that can be standalone. It does not have to be job related. Remember, some of these are just backlinks, right? They're just the ability to say you've been in Forbes. Does it matter whether you are writing about your ability to shoot arrows at the archery range? You still got to be in Forbes. So obviously it needs to be relevant, and it's helpful if it's it brings it back to your business, but it can be, how you, your experience in your hobby in archery helps you be a better marketer or business consultant. I think we had one speaker who talked about how she climbed a mountain, and that experience is how she was pitching her business. The other one is being opinionated, controversial, or counterintuitive. That's the email marketing is dead. It is taking a stance on saying, I know why gun control is the answer to our nation's problems, whatever. And it can be a complete flip around in the story. And while that may tick some people off, they'll still get the click and the notoriety. And that's all that these publications care about sometimes are these clicks. Your viewpoint on a particular topic, especially if you do have an angle or a specific expertise. I know just this morning I was calling my daughter's school about a new policy on walking the students out until 8 a.m. in the morning. Unfortunately, they have no way forward, no way side to side, and it creates a very dangerous situation should there be a bombing or shooting. So my viewpoint, coming from a former military intelligence analyst who picked bomb targets, is yeah, that's not a good idea. And this is why, and here's my background and reason you should believe me, right? The next one is new research and findings on a topic, whether this is research you conducted or research that came out, research you finally saw on Facebook, turning that research around, and make sure you quote it and source it, please. Nobody needs fake news, but turning around and using that as an angle in your story. And the fact that it's new is your pitch. So especially if something is getting a lot of notoriety, being able to find a way to edge your story into that new research that's hot really works well. The next one is going to be a unique framework teaching approach. And that can just be, if everyone's approaching something from a marketing and sales standpoint, and you approach it from a psychology standpoint, I'm a psychologist, if you try it from this way, or this psychologist teaches this, let's try it this way. For any of you who have heard me discuss the customer value journey, and I will give you the dating. This would be a different one. Everyone talks in marketing and sales funnels. If I turn around and I relate it to you in the 12 steps that humans go from not knowing each other to getting busy, that is a new approach to teaching marketing. And the other one is just your energy. If you have energy and passion towards the subject matter, it will come across. So every now and then, if somebody sets me off, I will a long rant to somebody. But I have gotten exposure out of that. I've gotten on podcasts because of that. I've gotten into stories because of that. Because I'm taking a very definitive stance that I have a lot of energy behind. So that's kind of like how you position your story, the it aspect. Next, talking about positioning you and making sure you can build credibility with the media in your pitch. So obviously you want the media to build credibility for your clients, but you need to build credibility to the media that you're pitching. So some of the different ways, remember, it doesn't matter where you're at in life. You think you're good enough. There's a way you can pitch. This could be straight up your expertise, your training, your education. So knowing that we are, certified digital marketing, knowing that we've had extensive training, that we've had education, that we've had expertise because we have several clients that we've literally helped double their business, and we can document that kind of expertise and training. The other one is public service and the give back experience. So every now and then we do need a feel good story, right? So if you're doing a public service, and let me try to relate this back to you with a client. We have a client who's a real estate agent, and they do open houses for like realtors and the real estate market people. So not potential homeowners, but actual real estate people. And one of the things they do is they combine it with something like a food drive. So when they pitch it to the different media in the area, they're not pitching it as a house for sale. They're pitching it as an open house event that's for charity, like bring a canned good. It doesn't take a whole lot to do that. You get to help your neighborhood, and you'll have a much better chance of getting a story written about your open house than if you were just selling another house. The other one is a corporate association. So think about the different associations with major businesses that you can relate to. So this could be like Apple. Think about things that are highly searchable that people want to know about. How we doubled the business of Apple. While your small company may not have a lot of influence, by saying, I've worked with this big corporation, or the other direction is, how do you double your business like Apple? Let me turn this around here so I'm not the only one who can see. The other one is previous media experiences. So if you happen to get onto a really big stage, you can use that as a way to get more media attention. Because if they're talking about it, especially if it's a big event. So if you're going to be on a stage, like in my world, it would be traffic and conversion. Both before and afterwards, with all the paid media attention that's getting, you can jump in on that, saying, I'm going to be on this one, here's the story, or I was on this one, here's the story after that. Don't forget your own channels, whether you write a book, you have a podcast, you have a blog, those matter and should be a first resort until you can get up and going on bigger channels. And plus they'll give you experience in what the audience is looking for. By the way, chime in if y'all have any questions. I have a few online, or Karen just walked in. Also, examples of your work, personal or client result, your personal or client results. So if you've literally doubled, like we've literally doubled a business, if we can give examples of that to say, here's the percentage they grew, and we have permission from our client to do so, the ability to show that, especially if they're great results, or you can document step by step how you've got them. And the last one is social reach. So even in the media world, it's hard for journalists at certain publications to even get a job unless they already have a certain level of social reach, which is kind of counterintuitive. You have to have the reach before you even get the job. Social media influencers are the same way. They can get much more. They can get bigger clients when they have more social reach. They can get more larger media to feature them when they have larger social reach. So if you're expanding the audience of the other person, podcast or blog or whatever your kind of media you're pitching, you're immediately going to get a higher chance of being featured than say somebody who has 2 followers. The next one is going to be crafting your pitch and just getting it all wrapped up and ready to present. So first one is expertise.
Hey, I can't hear you. You went silent.
What's that?
There you are.
Oh, did I go silent on you?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Melanie.
That was probably because I popped in.
Well, we're real glad to have you, but knock that off.
Well, if y'all have questions, let me know.
I do. Right back on the slide before that. Is that okay, Jenna?
Does this one?
No, I didn't even get to hear you say that. But on your positioning, you were talking about using your past as a springboard and media appearances and stuff like that. So, can I make it personal for a second, or do you want me to wait to the end to ask as an example? Okay. So voiceover is so much different than news, but that's my background. And I've got awards and different things from it. And I've just been encouraged now that I'm doing more public speaking, definitely bring that in, that it adds credit and everything else. But how do you leverage that besides just mentioning it? Do you know what I mean? Like if it becomes part of your positioning. Say it again.
Which part are we leveraging?
Awards, news coverage for broadcast journalism awards.
What would be, give me a more specific example.
Sure. I'm a voice actor. I'm a public speaker. I'm a 5-time Katie Award winner.
Okay. What is it? Explain Katie
It's
Award winner.
broadcast journalism excellence.
So are you doing the voiceover for that? Or are you doing
No, see, completely different. It's for news coverage. I hosted a syndicated daily show. Okay. And I won those for that work.
As far as like, as it relates to your voiceover business?
Or speaking.
I would always still feature, if you say that, you got a Katie Award, people looking at that have no idea what that means. And they're like, oh, that's cool.
Right. That's really what it translates to.
Yeah. So that's a big one. So if you're pitching media for potential public speaking or, voiceover clients, it just shows that you're well-rounded, and 2, that it shows that you can do accomplishments, that, you take things very seriously, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So presenting that, you know, that you bring the same work ethic. And again, I completely understand Katie Awards. So making sure, you know, I bring the same work ethic to this, you know, either public speaking or the voiceovers that I do to my broad, or, you know, to the projects that won me 4 Katie Awards, that kind of thing. And especially, I'm going to assume that that's kind of like a real award and not a paid for one.
Correct.
You're laughing.
We won't talk about the ones I've bought.
I'm thinking about the legal world. You can literally buy, you know, I'm the top, like D Magazine. You can buy the #1 spot for the best financial analyst or the best criminal defense award.
Awesome. Do we know how much that costs us?
Purchasable, right?
Right.
And especially media outlets, they'll know that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so if you point that way, they'll be like,
yeah,
whatever.
Like, not worth mentioning. And you know what? I didn't value it for a really long time. And I've just had a couple people that have known me for a while recently say, why the hell isn't that in your bio? And I was like, I don't know. I guess it just, like, it was so long ago now. It doesn't seem like it's credit. They're like, that's ridiculous.
Well, here's
so I just,
Yeah.
Can
I weigh in for a sec on that one?
Go ahead.
Okay, so one of the things.
Tupperware, by the way, in the background.
Yeah, actually, it's Pampered Chef stuff. But anyway, we had 2 parties yesterday, so I have leftover remnants stuck in my office. So anyway, what I would see, Melanie, is #1. By the way, congratulations. I assume you heard about your Triad selection.
No, I don't know anything about it. What are you talking about?
Triad B2B marketing. You haven't been notified yet that you got that?
No, what is that?
Are you serious? You don't?
Yeah.
You don't? Cheryl's company?
No, I didn't know about it yet.
Okay.
Awesome. Whoop whoop. Good Monday.
I'll make sure they've communicated it. I was talking to her and she said, does Melanie know yet? And I said, well, I don't know. You guys are the ones that's supposed to notify her. I don't know. There's one of their clients. They teed you up. Maybe you recognize it by the client you're working with, but that's anyway.
That is a job? Is that what you're saying? I got a job?
Focus.
No, this is the Focus Channel. Let's talk money.
I'll figure out
what
the deal is there. But yeah, I'm surprised. I thought maybe you would go.
Too many ADD people on one call.
It is true. I can get excited about either direction. But Dave, I'm sorry. What were you going for on the other thing?
Okay, so on the other front, so here's the deal. Your history informs what you do today and where you're going. And so everything that you've accomplished, this is why, you know, people who have degrees in areas that may or may not be relevant to what they're doing today, those things actually create the persona, the who you are, that obviously will get you aligned with people who want that kind of experience. So without getting into the specifics about how to cast that, which Jenna can help you with as far as crafting your message and some of those kinds of things around those things, the first thing to realize is that everything that you have done up to this point where you've been recognized for your unique value, okay, are things that are relevant to those who are going to join you on the journey today and going forward. So anything where you have, and I'm not saying everything in your history, but the things like awards or Katie Awards or any of those kinds of things, degrees, contracts, credentials, any kind of credentials is something you want to include in your brand or include in your core of who you are, because it makes you who you are.
I agree with David. I mean, to wrap and use your college one, we've done that directly with clients. If we're working with somebody who's in the real estate industry, both commercial and residential, my degree is in interior design. That's certainly not marketing. But if you're pitching an interior designer, an architect, a real estate agent, saying, you know, hey, my degree is in your field. I can speak your language.
Right.
It doesn't have to be something that seems so direct.
Right. No, in fact, it will actually, I don't know, again, part of it is sales, part of it is marketing. They're both intertwined. But at the end of the day, you're really aligning with people who align with your core, and the ease with which you attract new customers, those kinds of things, Melanie, will come. One of the things I use LinkedIn with is not just to blast or awareness, but more research and understanding. And when I'm going to meet with a client, I look at their background. And so that's what people I would expect will do with you.
Yep.
Is when they're looking to hire you as a voiceover actor, they're going to say, okay, where does she come from? Did she just start yesterday? You might have just started yesterday as a voiceover actor, but in fact, your voice is you've monetized for some extensive period of time. And that's not insignificant. And people have paid you to speak. Maybe it was speaking in a journalistic standpoint, or maybe you've done research to prepare your message. All those things will then play into now your value, your unique value to your ideal client, whatever that might be. And it will help you find them and them find you if you have your total persona. In fact, it increases my perception if I'm looking at you, already know you, if I'm looking at you in terms of going to hire you into doing something, I'm looking at somebody who may have those kind of credentials. And so, if you don't have it there, then you're lost. Whether you feature it, whether it's included in any particular headline or messaging or, in your bio, all those things are things that you want to think through and realize that people are attracted to and following you, not just
human.
Yeah, they're human. You are who you are, authentically who you are, includes your history. You with me?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like what you said too.
It's a matter of interest. So, if you're sitting down and talking with somebody who would, especially if they know what that award is, it's something that you just put out there that starts the conversation, that creates a connection point as well. That's why I would never email another veteran and not mention I was a veteran. It has nothing to do with what I would be pitching for exposure or what I'd be pitching as a client work. It's part of the community. Everything is human to human. And you also want to project yourself as a winner too. You're not some struggling voiceover, exactly, that's just struggling. You already have a positive background. You have a winning streak. Now you're just, leveraging the different things you've done out further.
I think I do that in my words without mentioning the awards, because what won me the awards are the things that I highlight. So it just never occurred to me to mention the awards.
Mention the awards because the award gives it credit. If I tell somebody, what would be an example? I can tell somebody I worked with, TXU. If I tell somebody I worked with TXU and we increased their overall revenue by 10 million, that would be the award, right? That's a completely different story. Telling somebody you have a broadcast or a video blog or something like that, that's one thing, and everyone rolls their eyes. Telling them you have one that was so worthwhile it won awards completely changes the story.
And it was for coverage on 9/11. That's what I won several of them for. So.
On that note, we're going to go back to screen share. Let's keep it positive.
Yeah.
That is positive. Congratulations on your awards. Play slideshow. So that was positioning you. And this is crafting your pitch. So that's taking the positioning of your story and your positioning and putting it all together. I need you to decide exactly what you want to be known for. And that kind of goes back to what David was mentioning. We can be known for lots of things, but honing that down exactly. Do I want to be known as a strategic marketer or a social media person? Those are two completely different types of people. And how I would be presented in the media, and what are your expert topics? So again, somebody who's trying to be an expert, strategist is going to be completely different than someone who's positioning themselves as an expert on Facebook. So pick your expertise, and almost kind of like for the ones that we did character diamonds for, completely build your character diamond as you as a person. If you've ever seen some of the writers for, like, let's say Forbes or Huffington Post, at the bottom in their bio, some of it's like super, business, I'm a marketing strategist working specifically in the real estate industry, mom of 3 and 1 lawyer husband, and green tea connoisseur. Obviously, I'm not getting hired for the green tea connoisseur, but it's an interest, right? It's going back to that hobby. It's the thing that you talk about in the side conversation. It's the human-to-human interaction. The next one is the topics. So, and I'm bad at this too. I think David brought it from Lisa Sasevich to, pick one damn topic. Put one thing to speak about, have one signature talk, or a series, have 3. If you want me to speak on stage, here are the 3 programs that I can do for you. This kind of becomes the same thing. It is your 3 expert topics that they can pull from that you would pitch to the media, and I would argue that you only kind of focus and hone down on one with maybe some like subcategories around it at a time, because people just you don't have time. I get emails probably every single day from different people pitching to be on my media. And one of the biggest things that they do is it's too broad. It's just a blast email they're sending to everyone. They didn't pick one topic that I cared about to focus on. And also what sells. So kind of going back to it matters how much of a following you have before they'll even consider you. Mike Archie, one of the coaches that we hired for our agency, he was actually hosting the podcast, but to get the people that he wanted, he had to be able to guarantee views. So that's what sold for them. He had to be able to guarantee 10,000 views. It could be that you can guarantee 10,000 clicks on that. It could be that maybe nobody cares about your feel-good story right now because the election is in 4 days and everybody is on a tear, dividing the country by Republican and Democrat. Pick what is actually going to be sold. Pick a headline that's going to sell, that's different. This kind of goes back to the fear factor. Be willing to go for other people or not. Be willing to share those vulnerable stories unapologetically. If you've ever been to something like a Lisa Sasevich or some of these bigger marketers, the people who are sharing very big stages, every single one of us is like, oh, well, back in 2007, I had absolutely everything. And then, I watched as the real estate dropped and my business was real estate focused, I watched my home get repossessed. I watched my cars drive off with a tow truck. We had to sell everything and downside. That's that telling the story that nobody wants to tell, but everybody in the audience wants to hear, because they want you to, again, be a human. And perfect people, like we talk about with the character diamond, nobody wants the perfect character. They want somebody to look at that has failed. They want someone that's very relatable. And then if you can share a story too, that's very specific to the audience you're speaking to, so it doesn't have to be so negative and personal. It can be, so going back to real estate, is there something that a realtor has to deal with every single freaking day? Is it, as a voiceover artist, can you speak to something that the CMO has to deal with all the time, and talk about even better, how you went in there, but how you got out? So figuring out what sells and what the people who are reading, both the people, 2 people, understand the person who has the media, what they need, and then 2, understand what their audience needs and be able to speak to that. The next one, drafting your pitch. Your pitch is not about you. The entire thing is what's in it for them, okay? It's about how your expertise and story will benefit them as a marketer, as a media person, and their audience. You have to remember, going back, you have to sell to both. It is not a me show. I'm glad you won your awards, but it must be crafted in a sentence that somehow speaks to them. Some pitching tips. Let's see. Make it specific to their audience. We kind of covered that. Remember, if you're pitching to, let's say, Entrepreneur Magazine, it's going to be a completely different pitch than if you are pitching to a mom's blog. Also, take the time to learn about the publication or voice. If you're writing your pitch and you're pitching to Entrepreneur, but you're talking about Fortune 50 companies, you completely missed the mark unless by some miracle, the Entrepreneur took a business within 4 years to the Fortune 50 status. So those little nuances are going to tick the person reading your email off because they're gonna be like, they don't even know who we are. You just mass pitch 50 people. So it's important to make sure these are custom. How will this benefit their community? Think about their audience as a wider community and what really ties their communities together. What makes it different? That's going back to, there are lots of people who go out there and market. What is going to make my pitch different than every other marketer trying to get some play? The easiest one is, like I mentioned before, making it hyper specific to a very hyper particular audience. The other ones, like I said, you can do like, oh, the email is dead, take a very drastic stance against something. It doesn't even necessarily have to be correct on a full spectrum. You can sit there at the end and put a caveat that says, take your marketing strategy and look at it a wider view. You might still need email to fill in different gaps, blah, blah, blah. But don't be afraid to completely stand out. Know that you'll take flack for it, and you might just have to select not to read the comments. What makes you credible to talk about the subject matter that you're specifically talking about. If I wanted to go around and talk about the Katie Awards, I've got no credibility. I have no idea. I have no business making a pitch in that direction. If I want to talk about something about how to use, what would be a good example, Facebook to encircle your enemy, I can both say that I'm credible and I have expertise in Facebook and warfare strategies. So focus on those things that give you credibility. Melanie specific, those awards give you some credibility. That's why you need to use them. Offer 3 topic ideas. Just remember to keep them in the same expertise general area. So if I'm pitching, let's say I get a podcast and I'm pitching for people to listen to my podcast, I might get on one of those pitch ideas might be a political twist. One might be leveraging client results that are going to be featured in the podcast. And one of them might just be a human story. So, what is some vulnerability turned to marketer, something like that, but keeping them all, it's still essentially the same story I'm pitching. I'm just giving the media outlet 3 different ways to look at it, 3 different ways to ping their little brain centers of things that you're trying to find that thing they've already been looking for, and you just happen to bring it to their attention. Keep it engaging and concise. Remember, you're having a human conversation. We are not email blasting. We are not Facebook message blasting. We're trying to keep it engaging. So being funny or witty or sarcastic within a positive spin, then keeping it really short. The people who are doing this, you're not the only one pitching them, and they're not going to read a novel. And then make it easy for them. Link them up to everything. If you're saying you won Katie Awards, link to it. If you're saying, here's my LinkedIn, link to it. Link to your Facebook. You have 1 million Twitter followers, link to it. You've already done a marketing to real estate agents, link to the Facebook Live where you did that already. Link them to death so they have to do 0 work humanly possible, because people are busy, and if not, if they have to do, if there's any friction, they're just going to give up on it. Any questions on that part? I got crickets. Okay.
What do you do when you can't prove something?
What do you mean?
There's not a link. There's no link available.
Like for the Katie Awards?
Or for whatever, but sure.
Well, does the Katie Awards have something that explains what they are, even like a Wikipedia or
Sure.
their own website?
So in other words, if you can't prove something, give them an explanation of what something is, or help them understand it in
They may
some
not
way.
even know what it is.
Yeah.
So here's a link if you're not familiar with what those are. If you can't prove that you won the Katie Awards, my first question would be, why can't you prove it? Take a picture of you holding them.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, I got that.
Write a blog about it, or include the picture.
Link back to it. I like those ideas.
And it doesn't have to be a boring picture. Like I'm making faces because literally sometimes making faces gets the attention. So when I'll include, 2 headshots because they're going to need some kind of headshot for the article typically. So I'll include like the really boring one, and then I'll include the one where we trash the dress and I'm covered in paint, sticking my tongue out. If nothing else, it catches their attention in the email. And it can be fun depending on the publication. They'll prefer something more fun like that. Any other questions? All good. Specificity for each media outlet. Make sure you're being specific to how it benefits their audience. Do not mass pitch everyone. You can come up with and that's going to actually be a challenge at the end of this. I'm going to let y'all know for everyone paying attention. To write and put it up in the Business Growth Network on Facebook. Write a standard pitch that is your starting point, that is your template to work off, and then paste that into your email, paste it into message, whatever you're using, but then go in there and customize it to the specific organization or publication or whatever that you're pitching to. Crack a joke. Actually, I know this is crazy. Actually read one of their stories, actually listen to their podcast, so that you can say, yeah, I was listening to that one story you talked about, blah, 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 blah. What was the recent one? Teresa from one of our members, she started a podcast and I was listening to it, and oh my gosh, her husband like rags on her so much about her car, about her driving, anything driving car related. That's like a joke you can make, like, man, your husband, real big fan of your car driving there. Something that can relate to them, that they know that you've been listening to them. And here's a hard one for everyone. If you're one of those people that takes yourself incredibly serious and cannot take criticism, this is not for you. You have to be able to take feedback, because somebody might come back and say, thank you for pitching this. This is just, we're really looking for people to feature that A, have $500 to throw at us, or B, already have 100,000 followers. They're going to come back. Sometimes they'll come back with a reason no, especially smaller ones, or, we specify on people who do Infusionsoft and use ActiveCampaign. We don't like your speaking style. You're just not up to par yet. Like, they're going to give you feedback. Instead of taking it in a negative way, put it up as a goal on your board to reach that level. So don't get like personal about it. And especially if they give you, what was it? If you spell their name wrong, man, don't spell their name wrong. That'll make them angry. Don't get upset about it. Just try to recover and move on. This kind of goes back to the link everything. Email it all. Don't make them look for the credentials. Don't make them wonder who the hell you are. Don't make them wonder what the hell your business is, or what city you're in, or none of that. Put everything they need to know in there. And if you're trying to do a short one, like maybe the long one doesn't work for you, or you're just initial, I get you can't put it all in there. But man, give them build a media page on your website. And I say that I totally don't have one yet. I need to build one. But make sure there's something where they can find everything they want if they want it. And a media page on your blog or website is the easiest way to do that. Brevity. I'm saying put it all in there, but sometimes keep it simple, stupid. Be short. No novels. If I get a novel, my eyes are going to glaze over on going to the next email, because I just don't have time for you yet. It's too early in the morning. I've got another meeting. Write in there something hyper engaging. Like I said, it would be great to have a link to your media page with all the additional information if they need it. But keep it short and simple. You can always come back and try a novel a different time if you think a novel will work best. Here's a quick example. And I'm actually going to probably put this together as a business growth network training on the back end on our website, just because I think the templates would be helpful. Obviously, they would probably be written for me, but you get the idea of what we're pitching, and you just fill in the blanks, with your company name, your awards, that kind of stuff. So if you see the initial open up, I'm a new fan and love your Facebook Live focused on Evernote. I had no idea what Inbox Zero was, but it totally makes sense now. I am not coming at her. I pitched nothing. My first sentence to her is, I just love your show. It is all about them. And then you start going into you. I'm a fellow marketer at this agency, copywriter, and pirate. Remember, keeping it funny, my alter ego. If you're interested in chatting with a copywriter plus strategist about any of the following topics in your show, I'd love to be part of it. So this is pitching to a podcaster. And, 3 different angles. It's essentially, again, all the same story. It's just a different angle at coming at them. Whether or not I'm a good fit, I wish you continued success with your show. Let me know if there's anything I can help with. Remembering not to just end it about you, and putting in there, hey, I completely understand. I may not be the perfect fit. I might not be big enough. Whatever the objection they might have is, go ahead and slide it in there. That way they can just tell you that's the issue, but hey, maybe we can fit you in this way. And like I said, this is one where I'll probably go ahead and take this recording and put it in the back end trading, or do a formal one that's easier, but include some of the templates, as well as I'll send some links. I have an Excel spreadsheet, and some of the stuff that how we track this. If you can make a connection or get an introduction if possible. For Huffington Post, like now, that's the only way you're getting in. They've actually shut down all submissions for anybody new. The only way that you're going to be added is to find someone who's already written for them and is a regular writer for them, and slide through them, and so they can open the door for you. If you know somebody, who is it? Susan Hamilton, who has what's her blog, or no, her radio show?
Radio show.
Yeah, what's the name of it?
Offbeat Business.
Yeah.
If you know someone that knows her, you know her directly, go to her directly. Don't do like another pitch. Get a hand-to-hand, send off from somebody else who knows them. Okay, now, saying all that you need to do is easy. Don't let it be this situation where you're so uncomfortable that you're like, oh, I'm going to do this eventually. I should do this. If it's going to be something that would benefit your business, just do it now. You don't have to start out with Forbes. If you're a business growth network member, I can send you to a quick form on the internet and have Ray and the guys completely put one, and that can be your first blog post that you've been featured in. We have what's the other one I maintain? momboss.club, but the angle obviously has to be business and moms. Those smaller ones, people who are running these smaller blogs need content. If they're running an affiliate blog, they still need content and they don't care about it, so they need it even more. Be prepared to, like on a blog, to write the content completely from start to finish. Or any little article or, images, take care of everything. If you hand someone who has a smaller publication every single thing they need, from the blog post image to the quote boxes, absolutely everything, especially if, what did I tell somebody yesterday? If they would be willing to become an author on the blog, I didn't care what they posted.
Just do it.
I'm not joking, but he's actually a dad, so he does it from the dad angle, so it's a little bit more humorous. I was like, man, just become an author, and as long as you take care of it, I'll screen it over and all that, but I don't care. Take all the work off their shoulders, start with the small ones and start building up a name. And then you can start pitching up the bigger ones, but just do it. I won't say the GSD, but go do it, and focus. Build one bridge. I always say that one. Let me exit out here of the screen, and go to a different one. So I kind of wanted to show you how we manage this. Let's go to desktop. Y'all are about to see infinite of you. Can y'all see my screen?
Yeah.
Oh, not my email. All right, so there's two different ways. Here's how I started doing it. Now let me open up another one. So here's how I originally started doing it. This is just a really basic Excel spreadsheet in Google Docs. Exposure list, this is where you would put the publications you would like to be featured on. And then you just follow them. Have they been pitched, followed up with, accepted? Have you done the interview, submitted it, scheduled, published, promotion, complete? I've actually also built it inside of ActiveCampaign because I could keep track of things like their email address. If they hit my website, I would know about it inside of ActiveCampaign. I also, as soon as I did it in, don't know, Trello is another good one because you can drag and drop your blocks. The ones that we use now, and I'll be the first to admit, I've not been doing this in a while because it was important at first, and then we got a few, and then I probably need to ramp it up once I get our sales process more streamlined. Plutio is kind of like Asana or even Trello and how it operates in that it's just tracking a project. So let's see.
I don't.
Go ahead.
Is it mine? I don't. It says as Jenna's start screen sharing, but my screen is blank.
Melanie, do you have the same thing?
No, I see your screen. Exposure for warfare marketing.
So that might just be yours, Rayanne. Maybe a refresh.
Okay.
If not, I'll have the recording for you.
Okay.
I'll publish it as soon as it updates. So if you can see here, there's just a couple. I have exposure list, the pitch. It's the exact same thing. The only difference here is inside of these different ones, I can put their contact information, whereas Excel spreadsheet, I would have to create another column for it. This was one reason I liked ActiveCampaign for it, because I could put all this information in there and have them track across all of my domains and websites. One of the things I could put in here too that I just know that is missing, already presented in, 2016? And I've already talked to them. They don't like to repeat speakers. So I had pitched them for 2017. They were like, yeah, we don't want to repeat. But try 2018. I did a panel before. They were like, asked for a full speaking spot. So for 2018, it would be a note in here to specifically pitch for a full stage position. But those kind of notes, that's where Trello and Plutio kind of have an edge up over just the Google Doc. The Google Doc, I mean, that would be so many columns across and could get cumbersome to keep track of. I can't believe I don't know my access. I think I might have deleted my Trello account. Trello looks remarkably, well, because we moved to Plutio, and I was just like, let's just drop it. I'm tired of getting their email. Trello is almost completely like this. I can take this, so let's say they were at Texas Conference for Women. That is my want list. That is my leads, essentially. Once I pitch them and I send the email, I can drag and drop them here. So I know that I've pitched them. If I don't hear back from them for 2 weeks, I'm going to follow up with them, right? And then they're not going to be moved forward until it says accepted. And so if I look in this, see, this is kind of dead in the water, I might drag this one back and find a different angle to pitch them for. And once you're accepted, there are things that you have to keep on going. You need to make sure that everything is scheduled. You need to make sure it's all submitted on your part or done. I did one podcast, and the sound quality was bad, and so it got dropped. So that was like a lesson learned for me. Like, if you're gonna film one of these, film it like in your quiet as can be office with a professional speaker. And Melanie's like, yeah. Making sure that when it's published, why does publish matter? Because the next one is promoted. Are you sending it out in your email blast? Are you sending it out on your Facebook, your LinkedIn, your Pinterest? Are you actively promoting that you are going to be featured, blah, blah, blah? Now, if it's a blog post, it's after it's published. If it's a podcast, it might be upcoming to the podcast, or at least the week before it's published, and then afterwards, promoting it afterwards. If you were going to be on Facebook Live, let's say if Melanie was going to speak at Richardson Plano Network, was on a Friday, making sure that her people knew that she was going to be there to show up in person. And if they couldn't be in person, be there on Facebook Live. And then, so you're promoting it both before the event and after the event. And then when it's complete, go ahead and put it over here in the complete section with all your notes and all the links. Did I put that in there? Of course not. So I could come up here on Fiverr and pull the link where I was actually featured on the Fiverr blog. And that way, when I go to ask again, I already have that information available to do it over and over again. And I might move them back over after I ask again and put them over in the pitch spot, just so that I know that I need to follow up with them. But the idea is to keep everything systematized so that you know who you've pitched, you know where you've been featured. So that's like something missing from mine. These are both ones I've done. Unfortunately, like this one that we did on Facebook Live, and the Facebook Live was terrible. I got 15 minutes out of an hour and a half of it. But it would have been nice to have, like, if I had that Facebook Live from that event, if I had the link, I can use that and continue to rotate that information. So putting as much information in here as humanly possible makes life easy. Obviously, Plutio is a paid program we use for our business, but like I said, Trello will do the same thing for you.
And does Trello do more than that? Because I've heard it referenced before, and I don't think I was familiar with all that it offers.
Trello,
is it for tracking specific?
No. Trello is like Evernote.
Okay.
Everything and nothing depending on what you make it. So even inside here, this does a lot of the things that Trello does, but it does it more in a, it gives me more as the business owner, right? So inside here, let's say that I wanted to create, I could actually create a template where the first one says, sent email, and I can check that off as a task that I'm done. Call, follow up. And Trello does the same thing. Send image, so that you have all these subtasks. You can also comment back and forth with each other if it's someone on your team or you've invited someone to the program.
But those two programs, are they designed for follow-up specific? They're for tracking this, or can you create the same thing in Evernote?
Evernote would be.
You're a big proponent of that, so that's why I'm wondering why you're doing something outside of it.
Evernote is going to be more like if you're keeping a Word document of it. Like it'd be no different than you writing in a Word doc, right? Like you're just writing. This one becomes more because I can do the drag and drop, and it's like a structure moving something forward, and Evernote can't do that project management in that style. This is just a simplistic way of doing it on this side. Again, I've also, let's see if I can pull up my Active Campaign had some issues. I had to have them fixed. So let me see if it'll work here. I don't know if I still have it though. I actually built this in Active Campaign as well. I was mentioning all you worker marketing. Oh, I don't have it anymore. I used to, so you can kind of see there's the same kind of pipeline look that Plutio had and that Trello has, is I have cards in stacks that I can move from one to the other. I'm not going to do it on here because that makes things happen. But this is actually mine for contributors on one of my blogs. Obviously, I'm not using it like I could. We were doing it in here, but this way on Plutio, everyone on my team can contribute and work on it, whereas I may not want everybody in Active Campaign to have access. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So there's different ways to do it. It's just a system that you're building out, and it's just a matter of what you use, what you're actively going to pay attention to, and what you're actually going to do. Any questions on this one before I wrap it up? Wow, David has no words. Now I know I've done something.
I put myself on mute, so I'm listening.
Were there any questions? Was this helpful?
Yeah.
Yes. It just added to my list, right?
If you already work in something on a regular basis, that's why I moved a lot of it to Plutio, is I can outsource it, right? All I then have to do is teach the system to somebody else. And I don't want everybody or any VA inside my active campaign. And it can be really, so like if you go to a networking meeting and you find out that Susan has her own radio show, you know, take that and notate that down. If you become a Business Growth Network member and you're like, oh, I can, and Melanie, you know this because you're one of the few that I've actually gotten done, that they will feature you on a blog, or they have a blog, especially if it's not just a regular business blog, but it's an actual editorial or, you know, something that goes out to consumers. Write that down and be like, hey, I need to meet with you about that. I'd be of some interest. Again, if you can help them. Here's another twist too that I didn't really discuss, is there are outlets out there who actively want to feature you because it turns you into a lead for their business.
Sure. Yeah. Where people pitch it back.
If you've heard Voyage Dallas, they actively pursue getting business owners to be featured. And then when you're done being featured, they turn around and ask you, hey, do you know 3 other business owners that would like to be featured? Because
have you been featured on that, Jenna?
They've emailed me 3 times to be featured, and I just haven't filled out their long ass form.
It's true. I was last month, and it took a month for me to get it back because I had to think on the content. If I'm going to utilize this moving forward, I don't want to just be like, here are my 12 answers.
Right. So those kind of, and that's how I knew. I was specifically thinking of Voyage Dallas, that it is a lead list for them.
Sure, absolutely, it's smart.
Oh, it's
but
brilliant. And we also utilize the tactics. So
I also think one of the things that I've realized is in content generation, like you're like, they'll be happy to take your content, is brainstorming with them. Like, what would be useful to you? Because I feel like that's where I get bogged down the most. It's like, I could write something and pull it right out of my ass, but that's not helpful. It's not helpful to them, and it's not helpful to me. I just generated crap at that point.
Though, I don't have time to brainstorm with you.
Well, that's fine, but you have done it. And the reason you've done it is it's like, I don't know where to start. And you're like, you give me an idea. I'm like, there we go. Okay, let's do it. But my point is it's win-win for them. And a lot of times they do have something that would be helpful.
And there is like sometimes like there's active campaign. They're looking for quality content, and I was looking for, you know, something bigger. I was like, I don't want to just write some silly-nilly blog post, whatever. I mean, that's something, especially at active campaigns level. The backlink alone, you know, is worth my time and trouble. However, I was like, you know, I'd really like to do something a little bigger. I know that you do some speaking. You're putting together your own conference each year to match Infusionsoft, who oddly enough canceled theirs. I'd really like to get on this particular stage and, you know, have some larger media go behind this whole thing, and maybe have you sponsor the other stage as a way for me to get on there too and make it easier. But let's make it a bigger deal. Let's get on the podcast. And she was like, that sounds absolutely great. You know, we really look for strategic stuff where we can advertise it on it. So now it's just me trying to, you know, put that all together. So that's going to be for larger ones. The larger it is, the more strategic they're going to be thinking. But that initial, you've got to have something that catches their attention without the brainstorming. All right, all good. I'm going to wrap up and finish with the ladies here, all right?
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Hey, can I ask you a quick question?
Go ahead.
No.
Totally unrelated. How do I uninstall the Meet Leonard thing, or have they fixed that yet on Chrome?
Well, either way,
I don't use Chrome as my default, so basically I just quit bringing up my Chrome window. Sorry, my dogs.
Up here in Chrome. Oh, wait, you can't see me. Hold on.
Yeah, if you want to show me your screen. I don't use Chrome normally, so I just need to uninstall that plugin.
So if you come over here to these 3 dots.
Okay, let's see.
It should be over here. So I believe you can just click on the button. Yeah. So if you right click on any one of the buttons, remove from Chrome's LinkedIn Sales Navigator.
Now, where did you see that?
I don't have Sales Navigator. Remove from Chrome. That's weird. What is this? That's Clear Cisco. I got all sorts of craziness. Okay, that one I want. Don't go away. And that's Clearbit. Okay, so this is just in that top. So just right click it and then hit remove. So they're working on a patch right now. I'm not sure what their program did to get flagged because I've used similar programs and never gotten flagged. And I didn't get flagged. I don't know if y'all were using your cell phone or what was different, but my account was never flagged, and I know I used it heavily.
Yeah, I haven't gotten any notifications yet, but I just figured if it's one of those things where they're gonna, if they figured out how to detect it, I figured they'd catch me sooner or later.
So yeah, I don't have an email from them yet, but they're probably crawling through the code and making sure it's exact and testing it. So I'm going to test it on a bad account before you test it on a good account.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you have any more questions on that, I'll answer them over in the Facebook group.
Okay. Also, we've got a couple of people. I just sent you a couple messages that are still asking to be in the insiders, which I'm not sure if they're members yet. And then also, I'm still looking for the Vision Challenge blank template from Prince. It's going on 2 weeks.
No, again, that's at this point he said he couldn't. It wasn't. Here's a different one, but that's fine. Let me see if I can just share it with you before I forget.
I mean, it's
again, not him. He said it wasn't working to you. So
okay, but I mean, that just sounds like an excuse. There's no way that
I know, but David, if you need something too, there's editors out there that can make one. And in this particular instance, there was just Facebook's having major issues. And there's, I mean, as far as the templates getting posted, that are complicated and very, anybody who works on Facebook the last 2 weeks has had a very bad 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The app that was installing it, they changed it so you had to have certain additional permissions already logged in.
Hang on. Oh, hang on.
All right, David, I'm going to sign off. Go ahead and text me, but text me on this so I can wrap this up and get it on YouTube.